Welcome to the weekly Underrepresented in Tech vlog with Michelle Frechette and Allie Nimmons. Underrepresented in Tech is a free database built with the goal of helping people find new opportunities in WordPress and tech overall. Let's dive in with this week's vlog.
Good morning, Allie.
Good morning, Michelle. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you, my favorite day of the week, because we get to talk.
Yay! And also, happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. This is awesome. I love the
Yeah.
colors of the rainbow and all of the different flags. And it's just, yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I'm always so happy. Like my birthday is in June, and this year, I believe my birthday falls on Juneteenth. Um, so I feel extra special this year. Well, I mean, every year my birthday is in June, but like
'Cause-
being a bisexual person and having my birthday be in Pride Month is really fun, and then having my birthday be on Juneteenth this year is really fun. I feel very I don't know, it's a cool birthday.
yeah.
Anyway, today, I wanted to talk to you about something that's been on my mind. It's on my mind every June. Um, I call it performative support. It's also referred to as virtue signaling, which is basically uh, the example that's on my mind recently is companies that maybe typically aren't very LGBTQ friendly, or might have policies that harm LGBTQ people. Um, Hawking rainbow stuff during Pride Month. Um, and being like, yay, love is for everyone, blah, 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 and making all this money selling rainbow stuff, while that is not something that they support throughout the rest of the year. And it really
Mhm.
makes me irritated because it's like using, you're making money off of people without actually supporting what it is that that rainbow flag stands for. Um, and there are lots of examples of this, right? Like one of the most mind-blowing examples. We try to get too political on this show, but um Donald Trump does have a Make America Great Again hat, uh which is referred to as a pride hat where the letters are rainbow.
Oh my God, I never saw that.
What? It's ridiculous. There is another example, and this is not me particularly like, these are all our opinions, right? Like I'm not going to come out and say this company is trash, you shouldn't blah blah blah. But Adidas has a Pride pack where they sell rainbow merchandise to honor Pride Month. But Adidas is one of the major sponsors of I think it's this year's World Cup, or maybe it's a previous year. I don't know when this article was written. But they're major supporters of an event that takes place in Russia, which is a country with anti-LGBTQ laws, which makes it unsafe for queer fans and athletes to participate, right? So it's this contradictory, um, just nonsensical thing where it's like, okay, you don't actually understand what it is that you're doing. And it's very frustrating.
Mhm.
Um, I feel this way about Disney sometimes, right? Like Disney has been known to support um queer organizations. Like I found an article doing some research on this of companies that do support throughout the year and do put their money where their mouth is. Um, Disney has like a rainbow collection of swag, and they've also pledged to support a variety of domestic and international LGBTQ organizations, which is fantastic. But Disney's history into today has been kind of homophobic, right? Like they're not champions of queer representation in their media. And all of these things really frustrate me, and it makes me think of the importance of simply, if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. You have to put your money where your mouth is. You can't just say that you support something or believe in something or someone, um, because that is the popular thing to do in the moment, and then go back on that with your actions. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how that whole thing transfers into our careers as tech people in the WordPress world.
Absolutely. It kind of reminds me too of how everything turns pink in October for breast cancer awareness,
Exactly.
and how all
Mhm.
these companies are like, buy this and we'll give X number of dollars to breast cancer research. And it's like, just give money to breast cancer research.
Yeah, just do it anyway.
Just do it.
Hello?
Yeah. And I understand the marketing. I understand. But the thing is, when you're doing the marketing, it is virtue signaling, right? Because it's like, buy my pink thing. I will give money to research, but you've also just bought my pink thing and I'm not giving all the profits. I'm keeping profit and I'm growing my business based on you wanting to help people who have breast cancer.
Yeah.
How much of that money actually goes to not just research, but supporting people who have breast cancer? You
Yeah.
know, very little.
And there have been so many scandals over the years of companies not giving the money to the organization, right? Like, I think that's less common now because of a few scandals like years and years ago.
Mm,
But I've definitely heard of instances where people or companies rather will say, we're pledging this much to blah, blah, blah. And that money never makes it to where they say
yeah.
it's going to go. And so it's this huge trust issue then with that brand of like, okay, well, if I do, like, I have that thought sometimes too, like if I'm in the grocery store and they're like, "Oh, do you want to donate $3 to hungry children?" And I'm like, "I want to, but I have no assurance that this is actually like I don't know where this money's going. I don't know if
Hmm.
you're taking a percentage of this money, right? Like there's this trust and transparency issue
Hmm.
um which sucks. Like it sucks to walk through the world having to be jaded and think about that things, but
Yeah. That's
companies
how,
kind of set us up for that.
I was gonna say that's life though, right? So
Yeah.
people, how different companies, yeah, and it's, but people do it too, right? So companies are made of
Mhm.
people and people are the ones making those decisions, and basically it's always about power and it's always about money and figuring out, like, that phrase, follow the money, figure out why
Mhm.
people are doing what they're doing. And that's not to say that, I'm sorry, I'm such a frog in my throat.
That's okay.
That's not to say that there aren't people who are doing the right thing. Of course there are. And they're not to say that there aren't allies in the world, because of course there are. I
Mhm.
am not on the LGBTQ, um, I'm not a
Spectrum.
member of the LGBTQ, right?
Yeah.
But in TikTok they have what's called the alphabet mafia, and those are the people who support the people who are in the LGBTQ community. Um,
Cute.
and I consider myself an ally for sure. And and as I always say on our show, we all still have things to learn, and I still have things to learn to be a better ally, because it doesn't stop, right? If you stop
Yeah.
learning, you are no longer a good ally.
Mhm.
But there are companies that try to do good things, and even when they try to do good things, there are those who will still attack them for those good
Yeah.
things. So,
You can't please everybody, right? You're
mm-mm,
always as soon as you decide to make a stand about something, you are going to be isolating somebody else.
hmm.
But,
there's
you want to
there's
take a
a
stand or do you want to be a pleaser?
yeah, exactly. There's an image that's been going around Facebook for the last couple of days, because we're only about 3 days into Pride Month right now, and it's got a rainbow
Mhm.
background, and it talks about, and I can't, it's a pretty long phrase. It talks about how they're an ally, and I support gay people, trans people, lesbian, blah blah blah. And it goes the whole list kind of thing. And to me, like, I think that's great that people share that, whatever. But to me, that's a little bit of virtue signaling, right? Because I could just pick up any image and just share it. When I personally write about supporting any community, whether it's mental health, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's Black Lives Matter, like any of the different movements that I support, I write my own post and I
Mhm.
talk from my heart, because I don't just want to be like, oh, here's an image that makes me look like I support you all, whatever, and then
Yeah.
it's like that one post a year kind of thing. And I'm not saying I'm great. I'm not trying to say that at all, but I'm just trying to say that there's different ways that you can express your support besides just rehashing the same image that everybody else on the internet is sharing,
Yeah.
so that they look like they are cool and they look like they support. And I always want to like DM them separately and go, how do you feel about this issue? How do you feel about that issue? And find out if it's really, that's like the first time that they felt like, let's face it, sometimes it's like the first time I feel comfortable posting something and I posted that image. That's great. If
Mhm.
that really is you saying, wow, this is a difficult move for me. Maybe I'm in a church that won't support that I posted this. And for some people, that is a brave thing to put out there. And for others, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to put that up there. And then everybody will
Yeah.
think that I'm cool too.
And I mean, it's kind of tough, right? Because that's the nature of social media in general is performance, like being performative, showing,
Hmm.
picking and choosing exactly the content that you feel is going to represent you and what you feel and what you think and sharing those things, right? It's a
Hmm.
very, we cultivate what we want people to think of us based off of what we post on social media.
Hmm.
And like, I I'm a very judgy person. I will that's one of my biggest flaws as one of my biggest character flaws is I'm very judgy. And I judge people if I go to their social media profile and I only see that they share things from other places. I'm like, do you have any original thoughts to share? Like, do
Hmm.
you have anything unique to contribute out into the world, or are you just collecting other things and patching together, like
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that's a whole other conversation, right? About how we use social media. But I definitely want to tie this conversation back to our WordPress space.
Hmm.
And, there are so many people who have shown heartwarming support for the things that you and I do, underrepresented in tech and other things, right? And the people that I appreciate everyone, but the people that I appreciate the most are the people who say that they support us and will share the things that we share, but who will also DM us and say, "What can I do to help?" Or the
Hmm.
people who use our database. Um, the people who, I mean, financial support, donations, those are all great, but like the people who actually do things to make sure that we go forward and
Hmm.
succeed. And I think there are a lot of people in this space who want to be better allies across the board. And
Hmm.
that starts with saying, I am going to be an ally. I am an ally. I support XYZ, putting BLM in your profile, putting pronouns in your profile, blah, blah, blah. But it has to continue beyond there,
Hmm.
right? And that goes into, I mean, my top is hiring people, right? Like I was on a podcast yesterday and they asked they asked about underrepresented in tech and they asked how can people help? And my number one thing was use the database to hire people.
Yes.
Put help underrepresented people put food on their tables,
Hmm.
right?
That's why we
Um
exist.
exactly, right? What are some of the other things that people can do, like actually do, that's not performative, that you feel is
Mhm.
important in this community?
So I think one of the biggest things is using people's pronouns, like
Mhm.
absolute, and not just to their faces, but when you talk about them.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean talk about them gossip, of course. I mean, like, oh, did you see so and so? They did this or he or she did that based on what they have told you their pronouns are.
Mhm.
And, supporting who they are as a person by number one, believing who they say they are, because
Mhm.
that's their truth. And just like you have a truth and I have a truth and we all have a truth, but also then supporting who they are by using the right pronouns. It doesn't hurt you at all to use
Nope,
somebody's pronouns.
it does not. It's so funny. I heard that, I think I was as a TikTok or something, and it was this trans girl, and she was basically saying that her grandmother refused to use her correct pronouns. She would use he, him pronouns. And so the girl started calling the grandmother, Grandpa Mary or whatever. And the grandmother would get upset. And she was like, "Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it? Like, it's frustrating, isn't it? You
Yeah.
saying that my pronouns don't matter, but if I call you grandpa instead of grandma, you get mad." Right?
Hmm.
Like, it just takes a little bit of perspective and a little bit of like internalization to realize,
Yeah.
yeah, being acknowledged for who I want to be acknowledged as, regardless of what you see, is
Hmm.
extremely important.
Yeah. It words matter. Words matter a
So
lot.
much.
so much. And you know, I was thinking about this the other day when we marginalize people when we talk about a group by saying, you know, they and like, okay, and I'm quoting, I saw a tweet the other day that said the blacks. And
Yikes.
I was just like, oh my God, they did not just write that, right? Oh my God. And that's like this month people say the gays. That's not okay either. You know, the words matter more for two reasons. Number one, it shows it shows other people who you are, but it also matters to the person that you're talking about. If somebody was talking about you that way, you would be offended. So don't offend other people. It's simple.
Like, would you want to be referred to as the whites or one of the whites? You know, like it's just, it
Exactly.
has this massively dehumanizing quality to it, which is
Yeah.
just, and you know, that is different from, I was talking to my mom about this the other day, how sometimes I feel bad for white people because Black people in America have changed the way that we refer to ourselves so many times over the last 100 years. Like at one point, to say that somebody was colored was acceptable, was perfectly
Right.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, to say, um, you know, the N word or Negro was perfectly fine and acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we went to Black, which is kind of having a resurgence, but at one point Black was fine and then it wasn't. It was African American, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do have a tendency to redefine ourselves a lot. And so sometimes I feel bad for people where they're like, I don't, oh my God, I don't know which word is the right one to use anymore. But that is different than, you know, the whites, the Blacks, the gays, blah, 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 blah.
Let's think about it this way. If we're talking about dog breeds, we don't say the German Shepherds. We don't say the
Mm,
Chihuahuas. You know, we say German Shepherds. We say Chihuahuas. So
yeah.
if we can like give dogs the respect of not calling them the German Shepherds,
Yeah.
why can we not give entire races of people the respect by referring to them the proper way?
Yeah. And I feel like a good rule of thumb for that is like if you're ever in doubt, right? Because I remember hearing or reading a conversation on Twitter a while back where people were debating, you know, saying, what was it? Referring to somebody as autistic or a person with autism.
Hmm.
And each person was saying like, I don't like the other one. I prefer this one. Um, and so I've kind of defaulted to this rule of thumb of saying a person who is Black
Hmm.
or a person who has autism, like starting with a person or a person who is gay. That man who is gay, you know, if it's
Hmm.
applicable to the conversation, but
Right.
leading with a person, a man, a woman, or whatever, and
Hmm.
then if it is appropriate to the conversation, who is blank,
Right.
because you're tacking that onto their
Hmm.
personality and onto who they are, but you're not defining them by that adjective.
Right.
um
Exactly. There's if and you know, it goes back to a previous conversation we had on another blog where if the characteristic of the person, whether it be LGBTQ, whether it be ethnicity, if it's not pertinent to the conversation, leave it out.
yeah,
Just leave it out.
just leave
You
it
know,
out.
like, okay, you have gay friends, great. I have friends.
Yeah.
Some of them are gay, some of them are black, some of them are Hispanic, some of them
Yeah.
are neurodivergent. They're just my friends. You know, do
Mhm.
they have to be labeled every time? Now, if somebody is talking about their sexuality and it's pertinent to the conversation and they are bringing up things in conversation, great. That's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But when we talk about people, we don't have to bring those kinds of terminologies into conversation. Is that
Yeah,
necessary? Yeah.
exactly.
I feel like we've meandered a lot in this conversation,
A
but
little bit, but you
it's
know,
all good.
it,
It's all good stuff.
everything we said I think is important.
Hmm. The
So
other thing,
yeah,
the other thing that
I
when
was
to
just
bring it back to, sorry,
sorry. I love Zoom. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say to bring it back to working in technology and things. We talked about
Yeah.
pronouns, but also about having safe spaces and having
Mhm.
people within companies that somebody can go to if they are
Mhm.
uncomfortable, if they are having, you know, the last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. If they're having mental health issues, they need somebody to talk to. All of those things are equally important. And with small companies, that makes it very difficult sometimes. And we talked about that before too. So just keeping those kinds of things in mind, whether it's LGBTQ or not, we need to have a reporting space so that if you need to whistleblow about the way that somebody's treating you within a company, you need to be able to report that without bias for the person that you're talking to. All of those things are equally important when we talk about things associated with Pride Month.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last week. Not last week, week before.
I can't remember, but yes, we have talked about it.
Either a week or two ago, we talked a lot about like HR and creating safe spaces within your company. So if you want a more detailed conversation about that, go to our previous episode. I'll link it in our transcript so people can find it. Yeah, it's incredibly important. And it's incredibly important to have that available as an option, but so it's the whole separate but equal concept, right? Of, okay, if I work at a company and I feel like I can't be myself except for when I'm talking to other Black women or other queer people at the company, right? That's a very othering feeling of we have to be relegated to this channel of Slack and cannot be authentic to ourselves outside of there. And that's a fine line to walk, right? Of giving people a safe space without trapping them or imprisoning them in that space and communicating like, well, you can't talk about being Black or you can't mention that you're gay in the general Slack channel. That's for your, it's a difficult line to walk. I appreciate that, it's not always a cut and dry thing because some people don't like those groups because it feels very othering. It feels very, this is your water fountain. You know what I mean? But I think in the world we live in right now, it is important to have a space where you can feel completely comfortable. And that is, I think, a stepping stone toward people being able to just be who they are in their general Slack channels and their general spaces, and not the whole idea, right, is to not need safe spaces, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of people make fun of millennials for advocating for safe spaces. But the whole idea is to have a safe space until we don't need it anymore. You know what I mean? So
but even
we
safe
should do a
spaces
whole
sometimes
episode on safe spaces.
we should. Safe spaces sometimes are just one person that you can open up to without
You're my
fear of
safe
recrimination.
space.
Yeah, you're mine too. We get to I know we text each other, we Slack each other. We talk to each other in like 4 different channels. It's hysterical. I'll text you in one place and respond in another. It's so much fun.
Wild.
20 years ago when I worked at University of Rochester, there is, I don't know where it is now. I'm sure it has only progressed and not, my lights just turned off.
Oh no.
Alexa, turn the lights on.
Oh my God, that looks so, you look like you're in a horror movie. It looked like somebody was going to come out of the dark behind you.
So funny. Anyway, there was a gender studies, and like I said, I don't know what it's called now. I don't know what it is, but there was a gender studies department at the undergraduate school. And I had to have a meeting in that building about something else because I worked in a different school at the university. And so I went over there and I saw like these posters on the wall outside of the offices of the gender studies area that was also, they had the rainbows and they said specifically, this is a safe zone for whoever you are, whatever you believe, this is a safe place for you to come in and be who you are. And I was like, that's really cool. To be able to say, I'm a safe space. So maybe it isn't even saying you all go over there to be safe. It's being able to say to somebody, I'm a safe space for you. And you can talk to me about anything. And if I don't know an answer, if I don't know how to help you, I'll help you think through it, or I'll at least be here to listen. I won't always try to solve your problems, but I'll at least listen to your problems and be here for you. But I am a safe space and I hold space for you, even if I'm not, the answer to what you're dealing with.
Yeah. And I think like that immediately makes me think of Big Orange Heart, right? Like Big Orange Heart is kind of that for our community, of a place where people can go and just let out if they need to, find that
Yep.
support if they need to. And so, yeah, I want to get kind of circling back to our virtue signaling performative support thing. A good example of the opposite of that, I think, is where you are at Give. They share you with Big Orange Heart.
They do.
They've supported Big Orange Heart in many, many, many different ways. And right now in your swag store, you have like merch that goes to supporting Big Orange Heart. And like, I think some people might see like, oh, like there's Big Orange Heart swag for Mental Health Month. That seems like virtue signaling. But behind the scenes and throughout for almost as long as I can remember, Give WP has supported Big Orange Heart in various ways. And that is a really good example of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, doing something for Mental Health Awareness Month, but the history of that support goes back and back and back and goes on into
Absolutely.
the future,
And
So we're not saying that you shouldn't have Pride merch or you shouldn't have mental health awareness merch or you shouldn't have breast cancer awareness month merch. Just make sure that if somebody tries to look back in your history of supporting causes and organizations like that, that this is not a one-time thing. You know what I mean?
right. Hmm. Right. And that was last month. So this month we have Gay Pride is our co-branded. So our swag store, if you go to swag.givewp.com, all of our merch
Oh,
says "Love Wins" and it's beautiful. And
I
the
want one. Wait,
I
wait,
know
wait,
I already ordered
really?
mine. The profits go to haveagayday.org, and we worked with them on the design. And
Oh,
and as a company, it's not like we have financially supported different organizations in the LGBTQ community, but we are all, or at least everybody I've talked to, are all allies. And so sometimes it's not about necessarily the entire company being somebody who pours money into an organization or whatever, but the fact that the members of the organization are open and welcoming and safe spaces and choose organizations. Like we got to say, yes, we want this organization to be the one that, we've worked with them as customers, we've supported them that way, and we want to help raise money for them.
I feel like I only half heard everything you just said because I'm drooling over. So I've been off Twitter for the week and I guess I haven't seen the like announcement of this swag, but I thought the Big Orange Heart swag was cute. These designs, who designed these? This is
Kirkland.
the
Yeah, Kirkland
Kirkland
Harold.
is
He designed them.
shout
Yeah.
out to Kirkland. These are
Yeah.
so I'm literally adding a hoodie and a mug to my cart right now. And if
I already
you're
ordered the tote and the
watching,
mug.
should I get a medium hoodie? Okay, so we need to end because I need to go shopping.
Sounds good. Well, as always, it's
Awesome.
a
This was
pleasure to talk to you. Even if we meander our
yeah,
conversation, I think people can pull some good stuff out of it. Um,
I think so
and
too.
we are safe spaces. So if people out there in the tech community need somebody to be an ally, whether it's any one of our underrepresented areas, our DMs are open. I know mine are on Twitter. I don't know if yours are, but I know the underrepresented in tech is as well. So you can,
Yeah, underrepresented
yeah,
texts are mine. I get message requests, which I
yes,
check
that is open.
occasionally.
Hmm.
But I'm
DM
message
me.
Michelle and then underrepresented tech and then me last. Because I'm not the
I'll
best
pull
at
her in.
responding if to message requests. But
It's
yeah.
all good. So yeah, but we are here for you. We have a contact form on our website as well, so you can always go to underrepresentedintech.com
That's a cute
and
link.
email us, catch us on Twitter, any of those things, and we would be happy to find ways to support you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Talk to you later, Michelle.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a new vlog. Until then, find us on Twitter at underreptintech, add yourself to or search our free database at underrepresentedintech.com.